Do we really need another video on Donna Adelson's indictment of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, solicitation to commit first-degree murder? Hasn't there been enough already spoken about this topic? And the answer, of course, is yes, we do need another video because you are going to learn a lot of things in this video. I guarantee it. And I'll tell you one thing that we're not going to do. We're not going to spend an hour and a half of your time going through this probable cause affidavit line by line, paragraph by paragraph, and giving you my 2 cents on every single line that's here. What we do here is we bring out the main points, bring out the important points, the points that really make a difference, and that's what we discuss. We tell you the arguments that should be made, the arguments maybe that are made, some of the evidence that's going to come in, and the strength of the evidence, and the appropriate trial analysis that goes into a case like this. So let's first jump into some of the more favorite arguments, and we'll talk about some of the arguments that actually I didn't hear being made yet, and I think that they're important. So one of the favorite arguments that are being made is that, well, Donna Adelson booked a one-way ticket with her husband to Vietnam shortly after Charlie's convicted. I mean, isn't that the strongest consciousness of guilt evidence there is? They booked a ticket out of the country. Doesn't that show that obviously she's trying to run away? And not only that, but we have actually Charlie talking to, first of all, he's talking to his mother in jail, and Donna is telling Charlie that either she may inflict some serious harm on herself, let's just call it that, or she is going to escape the country. And she just wants to make sure that everything's set up for the grandchildren, the trust, and etc. So there you go. She's planning it out with Charlie, and then she actually books the one-way ticket to Vietnam, and then she's gone. I mean, isn't that consciousness of guilt like 101? And not only that, but we have Charlie who was talking to Kate, which is one of the recordings that we had that we saw in the trial of Charlie Adelson, that he actually told Kate a line that says, "If they had any evidence, we would have already gone to the airport." Doesn't that suggest that they had some sort of plan that if they start to feel that the cops are catching up to them, that they're going to escape, they're going to the airport, they're flying away, and now you see that Donna's actually putting that plan into place while she's actually booking town. She has a one-way ticket to Vietnam. Doesn't that show exactly what was going on here? I mean, there's no stronger conscience of guilt, isn't there? Well, I think that the argument that could be made, certainly an argument that could be made in this case, and again, I'm not saying it's the strongest argument, and by the way, when I say an argument for each side, it doesn't mean that I'm siding with that side. It doesn't mean that I'm taking sides. I'm never taking sides. I'm just giving you the analysis of a lawyer looking at this case and arguing for both sides. That's all I do here. So what would the argument be? Well, the argument would be this. This is what some of the argument would look like. First of all, Donna Adelson's innocent. You know why she's innocent, and you know why she wanted to escape? Is because she realized all of a sudden that Charlie got convicted, and she thought, with reasonable inference, that she's going to be next, even though she's really innocent. But she didn't trust the system. She didn't trust that we'd be able to go in front of a jury, and this prosecutor is really good, and this prosecutor is going to convince a jury that she's guilty, and really she's innocent. So she was so scared that even though she's innocent, she's going to end up stuck in jail, that's why she booked a one-way ticket out of here. That's why she did it, because she didn't want to be unjustly put into jail by this amazing, wonderful prosecutor. So that could be a reason why she was trying to escape town. Now, also, I think that a compelling argument could be for Donna in this situation is that you can tell the jury, let's think about this for a minute. Let's just take a step back and think about this. What is the prosecution suggesting here? They're suggesting that Donna really was a mastermind behind this. It was her and Charlie who both masterminded this entire plot, this entire conspiracy. And they did it in such a way that everything planned out. They had everything that one person was only going to talk to another person, and then that person was going to talk to the next person, and there was going to be this whole conspiracy. And she planned it out, and she's this mastermind. Well, let me ask you a question. If you're such a smart person, right? Number one, do you think that your phone calls with an inmate in a prison are not being recorded? Do you think you're having private conversations with an inmate and you're telling the inmate that you're going to escape town, you're going to take a flight out? You think that that's not being recorded and being reported? Come on. Number two, if you're so smart and you arrange this whole plan, and now your son is on trial, And you know very well that you can be next if he's convicted, right? This would be a reasonable brain activity for somebody who's smart. You got your son on trial. If he's convicted, in the back of your mind, you're escaping. Why in the world would you wait for him to be convicted? Why wouldn't you escape town while his trial is going on? Watch the trial from Vietnam or wherever else you want it to end up. And then, if he's convicted, well, guess what? You're already in Vietnam. You're not coming back. And if he's not convicted, then you can come back. Why would you wait till after his conviction to try to escape? You've got to be as dumb as doornails. So that could be an argument that can be made for Donna, that this is not an evil person who has the capability to make such a conspiracy. Look what type of dumb mistake she's made. She didn't realize that she's recorded from a prison. She books a ticket after her son's convicted. You think she's going to get away? These are not symbols of a person being smart. These are not signs of a person being smart. And therefore, of course, she did not conspire with this murder. Now, okay, you can tell me what you think about the argument, but I think it's an argument that could be made for Donna. I'm not saying that it's believable. I'm not saying that the jury can buy it, but I think that it's an argument that could be made. Okay, so that's in terms of the escape route. Now, there was also some mention that came out in trial by June Umchinda, and I may be butchering the name, but it's June Umchinda, something like that, who was Charlie's girlfriend. And June said that Donna told her that Dan Markel haunts her from the grave. She is haunted. Donna Adelson is haunted by Dan Markel. Now, why would she be haunted by him if she had nothing to do with the marriage? Nothing to do with the murder. If she had nothing to do with the murder, why is he haunting her? It's tragic. It's sad. But why is he haunting her? It's an interesting choice of words to use. You can say you're not getting sleep. You can say you're so sad, you're so grief-stricken, or something else. But to say that you're haunted, that sounds like you had something to do with this, didn't it? Doesn't it? And I guess the answer to that could be that no, she's not haunted because she had anything to do with it. Dan was murdered brutally. It was a terrible thing. And, maybe she even regrets the way that she spoke about him. And she's just living in this, she's regretful and she never wanted it to come to this. And, he's murdered, and that's sad because at the end of the day, she loves her grandchildren very much. It's very clear. And of course, putting all these things aside, of course, she wants her grandchildren to have a father when they're being, raised, and now she's realizing that, and it's just burning her up, and it's killing her, and she's having all these feelings of remorse and guilt, and that's why she said those comments. Okay, that could be an argument too. Now, completely on the side, there is, and I hate to go off of regular classic courtroom looking at facts and evidence, but there is a religious concept. I think this is across many religions, that if an individual is murdered, that victim will haunt his murder or her murderers and will stop at nothing until revenge is taken. Now, there is such a concept, but of course we're not going to get involved with that. That is just a completely religious thing, but of course, in the court of law, that doesn't come in. We're just talking about facts and evidence, so let's just put that aside, but I thought that was interesting. So let's talk about some other evidence pointing to Donna Adelson's guilt in this case. So we have the emails. There were some very terrible emails, some evil emails. Some of the suggestions that Donna Adelson made to Wendy about how to get back at Dan Markel and how to make his life terrible and how to force him to do stuff, and just terrible emails, right? And text messages. And she obviously couldn't stand the guy. She couldn't stand her ex-son-in-law. And obviously, that could be understood. It's her daughter that's going through this terrible divorce, this bitter divorce, and this bitter custody battle. So it could be understood. But these emails were just off the charts. And you can see that there's real animosity. You can see that she really doesn't like this guy, and doesn't that provide a motive? And the answer to that is, yeah, it does. Certainly, it's certainly not a good look, but I'd be willing to bet you that in these type of bitter divorces, in these contentious divorces, there's probably a lot of this going on. There's probably all types of emails from each side to their side, to their own side, saying about how terrible the other person is and how much they wish that this person would just be stricken with cancer, or just person would just get hit by lightning. And if they could, they can hire a hitman to kill him. I mean, these things probably, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if this happens all the time when you have such a bitter, contentious divorce, especially when there's children involved and there's a bitter custody battle. So the fact that she has these very aggressive sounding and emails disparaging Dan doesn't automatically mean that she's involved in this murder. So, it could be a very hurt mother-in-law, very hurt because her daughter is going through this, and of course she's pointing the finger at the husband, her ex-son-in-law. So the emails and the text messages and all this nastiness in the emails and the text messages, unfortunately, I would imagine occur in a lot of these type of divorces, and it doesn't mean that in all these divorces people are actually looking to hire hitmen. So that's just in terms of that argument. Now, there's also some other suggestion, for example, that this is also brought out in the probable cause affidavit, that Harvey and Donna were supposed to meet with the Tallahassee Police Department, the person who was investigating this, and this was they spoke briefly by the memorial service of Dan Markel, and they said that they were going to give a statement and they were going to speak to the investigator, and then they just took off and they didn't speak to the investigator. Well, doesn't that suggest that they don't want to speak to the investigator because they actually the ones that were involved with it? But again, it's not necessarily true, because people don't like to speak to police officers, especially when it's a crime that you could technically be a suspect. Nobody, you shouldn't be talking to the cops. You want a lawyer before you speak to the cops at all. So whether a person is completely, totally, 100% innocent, and I assure you that any lawyer who is 100% innocent in any case would not speak to the police without his lawyer present. So it's understood or understandable that she would not want to talk to the investigator by herself without a lawyer there. So that also doesn't really place so much into evidence that Donna was actually involved with this murder. Now again, with the totality of everything together, yeah, that certainly makes a stronger case. But I'm just saying each thing individually so far is not so compelling that Donna was involved in this murder. Now, we remember that there was the television repair, and that Donna was the one who actually scheduled the television repair, Wendy's television, to get repaired on the day of the murder. Now, isn't that a coincidence? And part of the reason why that raises a lot of red flags is that we know that Jeff Lacasse testified that he saw that television broken weeks before the Dan Markel murder, and he even offered to repair it or offered to buy her a new one, and she refused to take him up on it. And some reason it's scheduled, the repair is scheduled, happens to be the date of the murder. How coincidental is that? And Donna was the one who set it up. Donna was the one that scheduled it. Now, of course, we know that Donna was the one who paid for the television, right? Charlie told Donna to go buy her a television. It's cheaper than a hitman. She bought him a television, so it was under Donna's name, and the Geek Squad warranty was under Donna's name, so she was the one perhaps who had to call it in. But again, it's really a coincidence that it's that day of the murder that it was called in. So now we're starting to get a little bit closer that, now Donna very possibly could have known what was going on, and that's why she's setting it up. But again, not the strongest evidence in the world, just the fact that she set it up for that day. It could be a coincidence. But again, looking at everything together, certainly pieces can start falling into the puzzle here about what really happened. Now let's talk about some of the checks. Okay, so checks were written by Donna Adelson to Kate McDaniel, right? So we have these checks from the Adelson Institute Donna was the one who's writing them out, handwritten, signing them herself, and she's the one giving these checks to Kate. So doesn't that suggest something? Now we know that Kate did not work at the Adelson Institute. That was something that came out in the last trial, in Charlie's trial. Donna knew that. So why is Donna writing checks to Kate? Doesn't that suggest that she knows what's going on? And that's why she's writing these checks. Not only that, and this is a point that I haven't seen some other people make, which I think is important. Some of these checks, first of all, were predated. So Kate got these checks before she supposedly did this work. Some of the work that she officially she's supposed to be working for the Adelson Institute, right? How often do you prepay your employees? Never. And yet Kate received some of these checks before, or according to the date, before she actually did the work. Number two is that a lot of times she had sequential checks. What does sequential checks mean? Well, everybody knows that when you write a check, there's a check number, right? You have a number to your check. Check number 1, check number 2, check number 3, check number 4. And when you have payroll, so you've got, let's say, 20 people that work in your office. So the first payroll is going to be check number 1 through check number 20. The next one's going to be from 21 till 40, right? So if that's how it is, that means that if Kate McManus is just on the payroll and she's officially working for them, well then every payroll she should have a different check number, and they shouldn't even be closed. They should be checked, and throughout business, before you get to the next payroll, there's other checks that have to be written, right, for certain costs, expenses. So your check number that you're getting on your payroll the first 2 weeks is not going to be the check number following that is not going to be the next immediate check number. So if you get check number 4 for the first 2 weeks of your work, you're not going to get check number 5 for the next 2 weeks of work, right? There's a lot that happened in between. And yet, a lot of Kate's checks from the Adelson Institute were sequential, which means that she was given a batch of checks, check number 2 and check number 3 and check number 4 and check number 5. Well, what's going on there? If she's actually working for the Adelson Institute, why is she getting sequential checks? She should be on the payroll just like everybody else gets checks that are random. They're not so close to each other. That suggests that there's something else going on here. And Donna's the one that's signing these checks. So how is it going to be? Donna, you're the office manager. You're supposed to keep track of all this stuff. And you're seeing that these sequential checks, you're writing check after check after check in a row to Kate, who hasn't even done this work yet officially. What's going on here? So obviously you know what's going on, Donna. So that's also some pretty strong evidence over there. Now, it's possible, it is possible, and perhaps an argument that can be made for Donna, specifically with regard to the checks, is that, look, Charlie is her son, and they're a very close family. Charlie has a girlfriend, Kate, and he wants to give his girlfriend, Kate, money. But he wants to do it that it looks like it's coming from the books. Maybe for tax purposes, maybe for other reasons. He wants it to look like she's getting this money as an employee instead of just him giving his girlfriend money just because they love each other. So it's possible that Charlie asked Donna, say, look, hey, Mom, do you mind just writing some checks to Kate from the business? You know, I'll write it off. I'll figure it away. I'll speak to the accountant, or I'll speak to Dad about it, whatever it is. We'll figure out how this is supposed to look in the taxes, but I want to send my girlfriend some money, and this is the way that I want to do it. And this has nothing to do, and it could be that Donna didn't know anything to do with the murder. Maybe that was Charlie's reason, but who says that Donna knew anything was going on? All Donna could have known is that Charlie is asking her to do this, and she's just saying, look, you're my son, I love you, and okay, maybe it's not 100% legal, it's not 100% ethical, maybe there's some fraud involved, maybe there's some tax fraud involved, maybe I'll get in trouble one day for tax, okay. Nothing to do with murder, though. So that's also a possible argument to be made regarding the checks. Okay, so some of the more damning evidence against Donna is the conversations that she actually had with Charlie. And for example, after the bump, when she calls Charlie and she says to Charlie, and when Charlie asks her, who does this concern? And she says, probably the two of us, or probably both of us, which she said something like that both times. probably the both of us, probably two of us, whoa, what in the world would an article about Dan Markel and a request for $5,000 have to do with you, Donna? If you don't know anything about this, is your argument going to be that you knew about it, but you had nothing to do with it, and you didn't agree with it, and you didn't conspire with Charlie? That's going to be a hard sell. Once she's already saying it's probably the both of us, that's going to be tough to get around. And then she says also, you probably have a general idea of what I'm talking about. How would Charlie know what she's talking about? Some guy, about some ex-girlfriend, about some article, about how is he supposed to have a general idea of what she's talking about if she doesn't know herself that there was any sort of murder or anything to do with Dan Markel? So that is some pretty strong evidence against Donna that she actually knew what was going on and she was involved. Also, she didn't call the cops. If she had no idea what was going on, and even when Charlie suggested that maybe we should call the cops, Donna said she doesn't think that it's time. She doesn't think that we should call the cops yet. Excuse me, if you had no idea what was going on, why wouldn't you call the cops? Donna, you're just an innocent office manager. You're an innocent ex-mother-in-law, a person that was murdered. Why in the world would you not go to the cops right away? You had no idea how this happened. Well, maybe Charlie, told you about what happened, and really you had nothing to do with it, and now after the fact you're trying to save your son. Maybe. But when she says probably it has to do with both of us, why would this have to do with you if you had nothing to do with it? So that's a pretty strong case. Now also, when she says this TV will cost $5,000, what does that mean when she says that? That means that she knows about the joke. She knows about the joke that the television is cheaper than hiring a hitman. She's using it in that way. And she's saying that it's going to cost $5,000. This TV will cost $5,000. That sounds like she really knows what's going on. So these statements that she's made to Charlie, they might be the strongest pieces of evidence against her that she actually knew what was going on. She was conspiring, and she was aiding, she was helping, and she had a lot to do with it. So I think that's the strong points of the case. I think these other arguments maybe are not the strongest points of the case, but in the totality of everything together, certainly can be a strong case against Donna. So we will see how this all pans out during the trial. That's it for now. Please, if you haven't, subscribe, like the video so we can continue growing. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.